press asked for my reaction to the recent activities of the senator from New York. And I don't want to tell you all of my reaction this morning.
And people were, I'd never seen such hope before or since in people's faces. There was an amazing spirit of hopefulness.
I saw how he was drawing crowds. I saw that he was a figure of adulation. Somehow he stirred in people things that hadn't been stirred even with his brother. And Gene McCarthy could never do that.
I don't know what I was thinking about that time, whether that was sort of a normal reaction to a politician, because you don't see that today. You know, I've been doing political campaigns now basically all my life, and I just don't see it. Maybe that happened before my father. It's almost impossible to think of it happening with a politician today.
When Senator Kennedy began campaigning in California in March, reporters were astonished by the reaction of crowds here. Those of us who had covered his late brother never encountered similar responses to John F. Kennedy until the last week of the 1960 campaign.
As you might have read, I've been involved in some of my own activities over the period of the last week. And I want to be able to report to my fellow Democrats that there's a very warm feeling sweeping the United States on behalf of my candidacy. Governor Maddox said he'd rather have Fidel Castro, for instance. So you're touched every once in a while, but I feel I am making progress with the White House and with the President. I went to see him, and we talked about pacification, we talked about a ceasefire, we talked about ending the struggle, and it was a nice conversation, and he told me if I came back the next week, we might talk about Vietnam.
I don't want to be part of the United States. I don't want to be part of the American people and have them write of us as they wrote of Rome. They made a desert and they called it peace.
The communists in Vietnam are watching the New Hampshire primary. They're watching to see if we, here at home, have the same determination as our soldiers, Navymen, and Marines who are fighting in Vietnam. Don't vote for fuzzy thinking and surrender. Support our fighting men.
There will be many dark moments. There'll be many long nights. And the words of a great, eloquent trustee and protector of ours of another day. There will be blood, and there will be sweat, and there will be tears. But the principles that brought this nation into existence, the traditions which have guided us, the things in which we believe, the strength that we have, are going to be used to protect the weak and to lift up the helpless and to see that might doesn't make right in this world because aggressors start to march across any part of it.
We're going in there and we're killing South Vietnamese, we're killing children, we're killing women, we're killing innocent people because we don't want to have the war fought on American soil or because they are 12,000 miles away and they might get to be 11,000 miles away. I very seriously question whether we have that right. Those of us who stay here in the United States, we must feel it. When we use napalm and when a village is destroyed, civilians are killed, this is also our responsibility.
I stand with those who want a new effort to end the war in Vietnam and begin the long journey toward peace. dropped more bombs on North Vietnam and South Vietnam than we dropped on Germany during the whole Second World War. Who else? What else can you bomb? Who else can you kill? The commander of Ben Tre said, I had to destroy this village in order to save it. 38,000 people. I'm not blaming him, but I'm blaming me, and I'm blaming you. We are the American people, and we permitted that.
In 1963, the people in the Plattsburgh area paid $12 million, taxes, schools.
There will be some nervous Nellies, and some who will become frustrated and bothered and break ranks under the strain. And some will turn on their leaders and on their country and on our own fighting men.
If my opponent had his way, stop it. Go ahead. Tell me. If my opponent had his way, your work area... Now let me see. I wonder if I need your help and support.
Good evening. Well, Senator Robert Kennedy has won the first primary test in his attempt to secure the Democratic nomination for the presidency.
I need your help and support in November.
Good evening. Robert Kennedy has won the Democratic primary in the state of Nebraska.
On Monday, June 3rd, Robert Kennedy pushed his worn, tired body through one last excruciating day, until at the end his flesh rebelled and he nearly collapsed. In 12 hours, he traveled 1,200 miles from Los Angeles to San Francisco to Long Beach and through Watts.
I think that probably I have to win here. I haven't dealt with percentages before, and I don't think it's very helpful at the moment. I've got to go because I've got thousands of fans waiting for me, I hope.
Kennedy, most of the vote seems to be from the north now. You've had experience in the state. How does it look to you in the southern section of the state, everything below the Tehachapi?
Well, I think it's very difficult because of the, it's not like the used to be 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And maybe you wouldn't even know until tomorrow morning, but all of your electronic equipment knows much quicker than those of us in politics, so I can't really tell very much more than what I see on the various newsworks. News shows.
Newsworks, all right, but
is it?
If it works.
That's the end of the campaign.
But look, if you've been campaigning in the state, you have been campaigning on the basis of strength in the South, have you not? These are your people, in a sense.
Yes, but we did a lot of work. I would hope that before it's finished in the north and in San Francisco that we would do well up there. I don't think, I've actually heard some of the projections of some areas, but I would hope that we'd also do well in the north.
Hasn't there been a fairly consistent pattern, though, of Senator McCarthy doing well in the higher income groups than you have been able to do?
Yes, yes.
What do you think accounts for this?
Well, I think that I think the great divisions in the country at the present moment are between those who are less affluent, our black citizens, Mexican Americans, and those who are poor, whites, and the rest of the United States. They feel that they've been disenfranchised, or that they have no association or identification with the United States government or with our society. That's the division. The division is... because particularly as Richard Nixon is the nominee of the Republican Party, which I think is unacceptable to the country. And I have strong disagreements, as I say, with Hubert Humphrey and the position that he espouses, and particularly what he said this week, that he would step aside if Lyndon Johnson then decides that he wants to run, that he'll then step aside. That I don't understand.
You thought that was fairly shoddy politics, I tell you.
No, again, Roger, I don't think that you're either in it or you're not in it. You don't say, I'm in the middle of it and I want these delegates to support me, but if somebody else steps in, I'm going to step aside. That doesn't make any sense. At least it doesn't seem to make sense to me.